right, welcome to Video Guys Live. You give us 15 to 30 minutes. We're going to teach you about technology, what's going on in our industry. Today I have a special guest. He's Paddy Taylor from Mark Roberts Motion Control, MRMC, and we're going to be talking about a specific product that they sell called Polymotion Chat and Polymotion Chat Pro and Studio. We're going to get into some bundles, some really cool stuff. But before we get into that, I thought it would be interesting if you gave us a little bit of a history lesson about your company. So I'm going to go to your website. We have this history page. You can start talking about where it all started, which is back in the 1960s, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mark Roberts, hence the name Mark Roberts Motion Control. He was in Australia, but he was based in the UK. He formed the company in 1966, building sort of specialist rigs, particularly for animation. And then he sort of moved on from there to sort of more complex systems. Whenever we do a sort of company presentation, we show stuff from the original Star Wars movie and some of the products being used. Fast forwarding, we developed a system called the Milo, which is a really important product in the history of the company because it won us an Academy Award in 1999, and a couple of members of staff that were part of that team, Ronan Carroll and Asaf Rana, are still with the company today. So one of the really important things, despite the fact that we're about 100 employees today, we still have this sort of small family company feel.
So back then in 1999 and before, when you were winning Academy Awards, what motion control really was, you would have cameras that were robotically controlled to time with other things that were happening. So like the miniature stuff, when Luke's riding down the Death Star to go blow it up, stuff like that. That's what motion control originally was, correct?
Yeah, basically, that's a really good example. I always, when people say what's motion control, I always give them the example of the Subway sandwich in the commercial.
Yep.
So you've got your
like
bread,
falls
and then
together,
your cheese,
right?
and then your ham, and essentially you've got two robots. One's holding the camera, one's holding the sandwich, and it's dropping the sandwich in sync, all the different parts of the sandwich. And what you need to be able to do is to do that again and again and again, extremely repeatable, highly accurate, so that when you bring those shots together, then they can be matched up perfectly.
Yep.
And for something like a film that's obviously critical, so you can get your special effects, it reduces the amount of work you need to do, particularly you've got to do rotoscoping after the event.
Yeah, now, 2016, jump ahead, you guys were bought by Nikon. Now you're still a completely, for the most part, independent company though, correct?
Yeah, we basically are a fully autonomous company within the Nikon group. So Nikon consider us like their sort of skunk works for robotics. So we still do all the motion control stuff. That's still a really big part of our business. We're going to talk a bit more about the broadcasting stuff. We also have a volumetric division within the company doing 360-degree capture. But essentially, these are things that we develop. There's a little bit of synergy where we use some of the Nikon products. We have a sort of very, very high-end PTZ camera called the Pod, which is installed in many stadiums across the globe. But yeah, fundamentally, we are MRMC, a Nikon company.
And then 2018-19, big stuff start happening. Tell us about what went on during that time frame.
Yeah, so we brought the latest version of the Bolt to market on the motion control side. And then the broadcast side, that's the first point that we brought Polymotion Chat out. So we're going to talk a bit more about that.
Yep.
But I think it's really important to understand that this isn't, I mean, it is absolutely cutting edge. It's amazing technology, but it's not something that we've just brought to market. It is an established, mature product. It's evolved into version 3, which is what we'll talk about. But yeah, this is something that's been around a while and is used by many customers, including tier 1 broadcasters.
Cool. So that's our little walk down memory lane, and I appreciate that. I want to cut right into the show now and talk about a little bit. I always mess this up, Adam. I'm going to go from the current slide. There we go. Boom. And I want to talk about Polymotion Chat. But before we talk about Polymotion Chat, you know, in our world of live streaming and live production, in 2020, the pandemic hit and things changed. You know, everyone had to figure out how to make streaming work, how to get it done, and anything was good enough. Then so in 2020, we made it work. In 2021, we started making it look better, work better, and easier to do. Now we're at 2022, and what I like to say is that these graphics are not cooperating with you today, Adam.
No, they're not.
In 2022, we made them more engaging, collaborative, and powerful. And then one of the best examples to me of powerful is adding automation. Now, automation is a lot of things. Automation is having one key have 6 or 7 things happen on your switcher. But one of the biggest areas of automation, what I think it's going to be is, I think 2022 is going to be the year of automation, and the number one type of automation to me is going to be auto tracking. You know, PTZ cameras are great, but people don't want to be able to stand still. We want to be able to move around, and we want to have multiple people move around. And your motion tracking, there's basic motion tracking, there's pretty good motion tracking, and then there's Spinal Tap 11 motion tracking. And to me, that's what Polymotion Chat really is. So explain to us what it does in a nutshell. We're going to play a video a little bit, then we're going to go into some more details, but give us an overview on just what makes Polymotion Chat so cool.
Okay, so basically it's fully independent, machine vision based limb detecting tracking. And the crucial bit about that is it's using a biomechanical model of the person to both track them, but also predict movement. So we can identify the joints, essentially. We use them as the main track points. We identify the face, that's important, because typically most people want to frame the subject using the face. But the face isn't critical to the track. So if the person's facing the wrong direction, if there's other people in the shot, maybe there's occlusion where they walk behind something, that doesn't matter to us. It's the limbs that matter, and that's what makes the system so much better than anything else that's on the market.
Cool. So we're going to run a little 1-minute clip we pulled out of your demo, and we're just going to watch and listen to that. And then after that, we're going to leave that clip kind of playing in the background where me and you talk a little bit more about the product.
So this is our interface designed to be easy to use. So at the moment, we have this PTZ head being controlled and a green tracking indicator underneath it showing that tracking is activated. So you can see that I'm being tracked here, and you may have noticed this already from earlier. But you know, my body is being overlaid with the skeletal overlay and the yellow dots, showing you that the computer vision engine is aware of where I am as a person. It doesn't require my face. And even if I'm moving slightly, you don't want the camera to move, we can actually increase the zones where no motion will occur. So let's do that. Yeah, there you go. That's getting slightly bigger and maybe slightly taller. And then only when I move out of that larger circle will it try to reposition me into that inner circle or that inner static zone. So if I move here, for example, now it will come and just really gently get me into that.
You know, I love that little piece of the demo because I think it really gets across what's going on here. And you know, the machine vision technology, this is some sophisticated stuff. So I want to explain to people that what we have is your software running on a dedicated computer that's speaking to the PTZ camera via NDI or VISCA control, and it is basically doing what you saw there on the tracking of the limbs and the head and the eyes. Go into it. You tell us a little bit more about exactly the magic, how it works, if you could.
Sure. So, I mean, probably most people are aware there's lots of different systems out there on the market. What most of them do is frame the subject using the face, and they'll do facial tracking, and that's fine until there's multiple people on the screen, the person walks behind something, they turn around write on a whiteboard, or they turn around to walk to a different section of the stage. And the system can then dither and struggle with the fact that it can't identify the face. The nature of this is, you can see on the screen at the moment, it's showing you a half body shot. It doesn't need to see all the limbs. It needs to see most of the limbs, so enough joint points, the shoulders, hands, etc. And then what it's able to do is to do a couple of things. Firstly, it's got a really smart engine that's designed to move really naturally. And that's one of the really strong distinguishers between the sort of lesser products that are out there. They tend to move in a very automated, dare I say it, robotic way. Whereas this feels like it's a human operator that's moving the camera. That's the point of it. A big part of that is not all PTZ cameras are made equal. So we have our own robotic heads. It's a big part of our business is to sell pantyhose that you can put essentially any type of camera on there. And those heads will give it a much finer level of control than your typical PTZ. But of course, they're all more expensive. So you're basically, paying your money and you're getting an appropriate product for that. When it comes to the PTZ cameras, one of the big issues is initial inertia. So basically getting the head to start moving and get that to move in a kind of nice, gentle, natural fashion. One of the great things about this is it's able to predict movement based on the limbs. So, simple biomechanical analysis. If the right shoulder's above the left shoulder, if the right hip's above the left hip, then it's pretty much impossible for somebody not to head left. So what we can do is start to just pre-accelerate the head, just get the slightest level of movement in there. So when that person starts to move faster, it's able to follow that person really naturally, as opposed to giving you that sort of jerkiness that other systems can
And
do.
one of the things that I love also is I'm a rocker when I talk, and I drive these auto trackers crazy because I can't stay still even when I'm not going anywhere. And House of Worship, if you've got an animated preacher, well, he's not really moving, but he's throwing enough that a lot of other systems will kind of search and swerve and jerk. But with you guys, with the ability to eliminate that little slight motion, having the smoother motion, you're going to really wait till, hey, I'm really walking over here to know that I have to move. And when we've got one person on the stage, that's impressive. When you've got multiple people, a teacher and a lab professor, or two preachers doing stuff, or it's just incredible. It's like there's a human being, and what's really amazing to me, it's not just tracking like a human being, it's almost like it's thinking like a human being, like, where's this guy going? It's so sophisticated.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of effort that's gone into that, and this is the point about it not being, a brand new product. It's been around for almost 4 years.
And it's based on decades of technology that you guys have learned through motion control in general.
Absolutely. So there's elements of machine learning that have gone into creating that movement algorithm. But, actually, whilst this product might only been around for 4 years, the basis of how that movement should be and should appear to a user on screen, that goes back decades into our understanding of the robotics. So, yeah, there's a lot that's gone into this.
So to further explain to how this works for our customers who are interested in it, you take a wide range of PTZ cameras. For us, Bird Dog, PTZ Optics, NewTek, Panasonic, they all work. You take, let's say, your Panasonic camera. You guys know the profile of that camera. And a lot of people think, oh, that profile is the optics. But actually, the real guts of that profile is you understand the mechanics of that camera, how well it moves up, down, left, right. Can it move diagonally easy? What has to happen? And what I've seen that's really amazing is cameras that to me seem to be a little bit jerky, all of a sudden are smooth when your system's controlling it. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, you're right. You've picked up on the two main things. The other thing is the API. So we often use Visca over IP or NDI, but often we use native control protocols. So if the camera vendor has got a web API that we can access it, we'd have written something specific to that camera. And that gives us that advanced control. So often they maybe aren't providing full 3D data back. For example, we had a 130 that was used in this example. That camera doesn't have 3D data, but there is feedback that comes back from the camera that tells us it's moved, it's arrived at this point. And again, by having that data coming in and processing it as we move the head, we're able to then decelerate gently. We're able to accelerate again. We're able to widen the shot in a natural way.
Paddy, the marketing term you guys use that I think is so strong is gentle. And I think if you really think that the motion is gentle, you're really setting the expectation for how this is not like other motion control systems. And I understand if you're in an elementary school and you just want to catch a teacher walking in front of a chalkboard, money's tight, you got to do it. But if you're actually trying to do a production, an event, a band, a TED-type talk, where someone's moving around on the stage, or if you're going to do a lecture center in your college or university where you really want to have state-of-the-art motion tracking, do not pass go. This is the product you need to get. The question is what camera do you match it up with? And do you just run it on your own computer, or are you going to need something a little bit bigger and more sophisticated? So one of the things I want to go into this to make sure we're all on the same page is it's NDI control. We're the NDI guys. We love it. So with an NDI camera, if your camera's on the network and that computer's on the network, it just works with the profile. But also that you need a bit of, it's not a beast graphics card by any means anymore, but you really do need a really good NVIDIA GPU at the heart and soul of that computer, because that's what's doing all those insane amounts of computations to make the magic work.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the specs up on the screen. It's got to be an NVIDIA. It's got to be a GTX 1080. We have a few customers that are using lower spec GTX boards, and they work perhaps for just one camera, but they're the recommended specs that we put forward. And what we're certainly finding with the later graphics cards, we can do more because they've obviously got a lot more processing power. So, expect some additional functionality and features to come out in due course.
Basically, if the computer is good enough to game on today's standards, it's probably gonna run the Polymotion Chat pretty dang well.
Yeah, we based it around what we thought most sort of education customers, small production, corporate, house of worship would have for a sort of production machine. So something that might run Avid or Premiere or something like that on, which, these days pretty much is the same machine that you'd be gaming on. So, pretty much bang on.
Hey, but that's a great point. If I do some post-production on a machine that's running the Adobe suite, Adobe Premiere, maybe Resolve or something, I can use that computer when I'm in my live events to do Polymotion Chat because it's the same. It's almost the same exact specs, and why have it sit around? If it's on the network, it can run. It doesn't even have to be in the same room, right? It's just got to be on the network.
Yep, doesn't need to be in the same room, and I wouldn't recommend running Premiere at the same time as.
No. I'm saying the computer.
But yeah, absolutely. The machine, you're not going to be editing while you're on air.
Exactly.
So that's a perfect case to use the machine for two different purposes.
So at $2,000, $2,500, it's not for everyone. But it is in a lot of applications that people, I think, need to know. If you're a large house of worship and you really want to have that great camera action on your preacher, rabbi, whoever it is, who's moving around, who's the center, the priest, the center of the whole thing, it's phenomenal. You can put that camera in the middle, the side of the room, and it's going to track so beautifully. Schools, like I said, elementary school, middle school, no. But if you're putting a lecture center where you have 300 or 500 people, you want to do some distance learning, this is a great way to be able to allow that professor to go wherever he wants to go on the stage and still look great. Broadcast studios are a no-brainer. It's one less camera operator. And then corporate, I think people don't realize corporate, but a lot of corporations are now looking to build rather than just a conference room, they're really trying to build like a media room where their upper level management can communicate either to their investors, their other managers, to the company, what have you. And we're seeing those guys really want motion traction because it's a pretty tight room and there's not room for a whole lot of people. That guy just wants to be, hey, I'm the CEO addressing the crowd and I want to be the only one in the room.
Yeah, and one of the things you tend to find with the corporate environment, and we've got customers in all of these categories using the system. In the corporate environment, what they tend to default towards is an auto-tracking camera. And they're fine for very small meeting spaces where you accept that really basic, jerky movement. Yep. But you're making a massive compromise on the camera because you're adding that, they call it AI element, it's not really, but that automated tracking. This is independent. You can choose whichever camera. We've got quite a few corporate customers doing high-end meeting spaces, company meeting centers, conferences, that kind of thing, that have wanted to use, better cameras than they've had access to, but they've had to go for these auto-tracking cameras. This is entirely agnostic. We do not care what the camera is. We take the video in, we process it, we send the data out to control the camera and move it. Doesn't matter to us what the camera is, as long as it supports one of the protocols we support.
And nothing has to be specially loaded on the camera. Your camera might need the latest firmware to work optimally, but you run it on the computer. So one of the things we want to make sure all our customers know, and we've sold hundreds would be a low number, probably thousands of cameras since the last couple of years. All of our cameras, from Bird Dog, from NewTek, from Panasonic, from I know PTZ Optics, they work. And if you bought a camera from us, give us a call, and we will give you 10% off or more on Polymotion Chat because you're a loyal customer of ours. Now, that we can't do that forever, but we're going to be doing that for this quarter. So by all means, if you've got that, it's also available from other dealers across the country. We're not the only ones. We're just explaining it to you. But we also, at Video Guys, we like to lead our customers a little bit more. So we actually worked with you and worked with two of our great vendors, Bird Dog and PTZ Optics, and put together some custom bundles. So we have a bundle with the PTZ Optics 30X NDI cameras for $41.99, or with the best-selling Bird Dog P200 PTZ camera for $47.99, and those bundles include net savings, and we got permission from everyone involved to price them and promote them at that price. So, it's great deals. And Paddy, I want to thank you because you helped us get together with these guys to make these bundles happen. And once again, Polymotion Chat will load the profile for this camera, and it'll be a different profile for the PTZ Optics versus the Bird Dog. It's a different one for the Bird Dog P200 or one of their outdoor cameras versus the P200. Every camera, distinct profile that gives you that gentle, smooth motion.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are, both brands that we're pretty big fans of. We've got lots of customers use them in different ways.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that I wanted to stress is that you can build your own bundle. We put these two together to guide you on something that we thought would hit, the right price points for the broadest audience. However, if you're looking to do something with a Panasonic UE100 or UE150, one of the new Tech 4K cameras, the Bird Dog outdoor camera, a PTZ Optics camera that's a 12X or a 20X, we'll build a custom bundle for you. You have to call us. We have a whole little matrix we use here, and we'll give you a custom bundle price of putting the two together, and you're going to be happy with it. And all the dealers across the country are doing that because you guys have understood that you work with everyone. You're not saying anyone's better than anyone else. You're just saying automating with Polymotion Chat is better than any other type of auto tracking. And I don't want to put down the auto tracking that other these vendors have come out with. They're good, but like I said, they're not that Spinal Tap 11 like you guys are.
I love that analogy. I mean, the other thing that also surprised us, because the Pro version that we're talking about now, that's only been around for about 9 months.
Right.
When we took that to beta, we were amazed at the number of customers, particularly education and house of worship, that had multiple vendor PTZs. They had,
Yes.
a Lumens and a Panasonic, a Bird Dog and a
Yep.
Sony. This is one system that will control, 2-3 different vendors within one platform. So you can mix and match your cameras quite happily.
And for up to 3 cameras, you could run it on a single gaming machine. You can get Polymotion Chat Pro. We offer multi-seat discounts. So if you wanted to get 3, you could put it on the same computer as long as it's strong enough, and you could run 3 different cameras. That could be 3 completely wildly different cameras, which is what you were going to. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that a little bit. Now I want to talk about, if we could segue a little into the Polymotion Chat Studio, which is more than a software running on someone else's computer, but you guys actually are putting together a server class computer with the studio version of Polymotion Chat that adds some additional functionality and features. So I'm bringing up the price of the 2 units. Can you just tell us why someone would want even the base unit of the control, Polymotion Chat Studio control for 3 heads with your computer versus just running the software alone on their own computer?
Sure. So when you buy the Chat Pro version, you get free support included with the system. So that's software updates, but that is web support. So if you want help, you go to our forum and we'll assist you that way. With the studio version, you get access to our support network. So you can call us in if you've got an issue, questions, you want to understand something's not working the way you expect, you'll be able to call in and get a direct response, or use our email system to directly open a ticket on something. The systems are dedicated. So, we talked about the basic specifications. There are people that are running, the system on lower spec computers, and that might work well for them. On the turnkey systems, they are absolutely designed to run as a minimum the 3 or 6 cameras that we were recommending. Within that, and in fact, we've just been updating the slides for NAB. There's a whole bunch of additional features that Studio gives you. So Pro gives you basic tracking. You choose the framing of the subject, you hit track, that's it. The Studio version gives you the ability to have different types of presets and framing. So you have preset options, you have tracking presets, you have manual presets. You can track half body, full body, head and shoulders, but you can also track multiple people. So you might want to, we used it. People often ask me, why Polymotion Chat? Where does the name come from? And it comes from a chat show. That's the idea. You've got 4 people sitting on a sofa talking to, Jimmy Kimmel, Trevor Noah, whoever's your favorite talk show host. And those guys, suddenly stand up and go in different directions. You could have one camera that's constantly tracking all of them, and it would just widen that shot to make sure all of them are constantly within a frame. That's a function of the more advanced studio products. It tracks using a higher frame rate. So again, we've got more processing power in there, more GPU and CPU cycles, which gives you the ability to process. So we get even better tracking than we do with the base model. You can separate the server and the client. So you can daisy chain servers together. I saw one of your slides a second ago. So you can have 3 or 4 servers. We have a lot of customers that use this in things like fly on the wall reality TV, where they might have 20, 30 PDZ
Cameras throughout the
that are
house,
being
right?
used to track people.
Yep.
So you can set the system up there and have one master client controlling all of those. And then the coolest feature, and I do urge anyone who's coming to NAB to come and get a demo of this, and we will stick a video up of this very shortly, and that's facial recognition.
Yeah.
So I said we don't care about the face. Everyone cares about the face because it's what you track. It's just what you frame with.
Right.
And what facial recognition does is allows us to actually recognize a person. So you can either teach the software what I look like, or Gary looks like, or somebody else, by doing the same thing as you might do with your smartphone, and show it. Or you can upload photos into the system. And you can upload enough photos from different angles, build a profile. So when that person comes into frame, the system recognizes that person. And if they've been told to track that person, the camera that's maybe just been sitting there waiting, looking at the podium, will suddenly start following the subject backwards and forwards.
And it could know that Gary's a big rocker, so my preset could have a wider bubble around me not to follow, and someone else who's more dart all over the place with purpose could be a little tighter. I could have track me, but only track me when I'm on this part of the stage, not on that part of the stage. You can really get into some complex, sophisticated stuff where basically you can run a show with multiple cameras, with multiple people all tracking while switching. So one of the ways I like to explain that is, let's say I have 3 people on the stage. I can have 2 different cameras tracking each person. And then in addition to that, I can now be mixing between any of the cameras to use for any of my shots when I'm mixing. And it's as if I had like 20 or 30 different shots in the room.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. And I think another thing that we often forget to talk about is we're talking about, potentially tracking on 6 cameras simultaneously. You can actually have 12 connected. So you can turn off tracking on one and turn it on another. So, if you're in an education environment or a corporate environment, you might have one machine, but you might be tracking in multiple locations. You might have 2 cameras in one room, 2 cameras another, 2 cameras another, 2 cameras another, 2 cameras in another. If nothing going on in one of those rooms, you just don't track. But the ability to have all those cameras connected gives you lots of flexibility.
Now, Paddy, I want to let people know if they want to get the product. This is like my summary page on a recap. First thing is they can download a trial version of the software, correct?
Yep. If you go to the Polymotion Chat section of the website, there's a download version there.
Cool. And then if you want to buy it, you can give us a call. We'll get you the key. And that means if you have an existing camera, you want to try it and then take care of our discounts, you can. If you are an event space, a large church or someone like that who needs to learn and want more, we have worked with the guys, Paddy and his team. We can set you up with your own one-on-one, in-depth kind of look, demo, training kind of thing session to help you get onto it. And by the same regards, a little wink, wink there. If you're a dealer watching our show and you want to get involved, we can get you up with sales training remotely with these guys too. We're really excited to be a part of this. So I'm going to run down the software alone is $24.50. We have multi-seats discounts available. If you have an existing PTZ you bought from us, you can save 10% or more on the software. We have our own custom bundles with PTZ Optics and the Bird Dog, PTZ Optics 30 to Bird Dog P200. We have Create Your Own bundle where you pick any camera you want that we sell and say you want to throw the software on it. We'll work with you. And then we have these larger studio systems available for you to order. And once again, I know the studio systems aren't for everyone. You can run this software great on a $5,000 gaming computer and have 3 people be in perfect, automated tracking sync at all times. But we want to make sure people understood who are in those bigger spaces. You can track sports with the studio version of this product, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I wouldn't track American football or basketball, anything that's really fast paced. But we've got customers using it for dance, gymnastics, those sorts of things where
swimming.
You've got individuals moving like that. It does a great job of those sorts of things.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. I think we did a great job overviewing what the products are. I want to remind people, if you're at NAB, what's your booth number at NAB?
I knew you were going to ask that question, and I've completely forgotten. It is C2119.
Cool. Central Hall. Find them over there. And Paddy, I want to thank you for being on the show. Anytime I have a guest on the show, I always like to say, you get to wrap up. The floor is yours. Did we miss anything? Is there something you want to cover? You go at it. If you just want to wish people a happy birthday, it's your final moments, final thoughts. Paddy, take it away.
Well, I just want to say thank you, to be honest. I think we covered everything. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your time, Gary. Thanks to the guys at Video Guys. And yeah, if you any questions, come and see us at NAB or or fill in a contact form on the website.
Cool. And if we can come back to me and pull up that lower third on what we think is going to be the best feat in 2022, I think 2022 is going to be the year of automation. And I think auto tracking is going to be everywhere, and it's going to be the technology you want. And I'm just going to say we have a lot of products. We have $1,500. We have products that come with auto tracking now. We have the ability from BirdDog to add auto tracking for free to any of those cameras. So you got good, better, and then you got best. Like I said, the Spinal Tap 11. When you want really the best motion, auto tracking motion in the world, it is Polymotion Chat. I also want to let people know that the other products that are available from Polymotion, from MRMC, we can special order them from you. We can also get you in touch with a local dealer, and that includes your track rails and some of the smaller heads for some of the smaller cameras. And obviously, if you're some production company that needs, a $1 million tracking system or something like that, you can give us a call. We're going to just give you over to Paddy and let him close the sale. But we're really happy to be partnering with you. It's a real move a little bit upstream for us because you get into some of these, broadcasted event type spaces. But we're really excited to be a part of the MRMC team. Paddy, thank you so much for being on the show. This is the point where I try to get people to, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where I beg people to grow our audience and to tell their friends about us and stuff like that. But today's show was a great example of how Video Guys is committed to bringing you brand new technologies, features, letting you know how they work, giving you exciting bundles and promotions to be able to buy them, and more than that, giving you an education about what it's about, because it might not be something you want and you can afford now, but you want it and you'll get it later. So thank you so much for Paddy to being on the show. This is Gary from Video Guys. Peace.
Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.